All right. It's Monday night, and we're live from the hotel room here in Vegas. Was here today, shot a podcast, and then we went over to the Sphere and checked that out. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Sphere. This is my first time that I've ever been. Blown away. Like, incredible. If you haven't experienced it, would highly recommend. If you are going to travel to Vegas at some point, it's a lot of money. I don't know. I think they spent a couple $1 billion to build this thing, but it is every bit of what you think it is. It was fantastic. We saw the Wizard of Oz, made a post over there on Twitter about that. But yeah, I highly recommend. Apparently concerts are fantastic there too. So may have to go back for one of those. But as things sit, I'm extremely happy with the experience. I would have paid more. There's been a few other shows that I've been to here in Vegas. The first time we went to Vegas, this was years ago. We saw the One, which is the Michael Jackson thing. Again, I was like $350 for tickets. It was for my wife's birthday. I thought it was going to be, you just don't know what to expect, right? I was blown away by the Cirque du Soleil. Like, if you haven't ever seen a Cirque, go do it. It is wild to see all those people performing at such a high level, and it's everywhere. It's not like it's just one little thing on stage. Obviously, there's a storyline and everything that goes along with it, but a lot of the shows that are here in Vegas are just fantastic. So, I don't know how often you guys get out of the house or if you'll ever come here, but would highly recommend. I don't gamble while I'm here. I asked over there on Twitter what I should do. Maybe we'll throw a grand down on blackjack or something before I leave. We'll see what happens. I don't ever gamble. Apparently, the best odds are in the high roller room because they don't have an automatic shuffler. If you're going to play a card game, apparently they still hand shuffle there, and it's a little bit easier for you to do well. Whereas, the shufflers over there on the floor for the low stake stuff, apparently you don't have as good odds there. Everybody recommended Baccarat and then also Pag Out Poker. So maybe I'll try, one of those while I'm there, while I'm here. But yeah, it's normally not my game. I don't like to gamble. There was a gentleman that asked me, you're gambling enough with your price predictions. And I said, I don't gamble. So if that tells you anything, and we'll get into that tonight. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday to come hang out with me while I'm on the road here for the live this week. This is recorded. It'll be back up later on. I don't say it enough, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way. Please like, subscribe, share this with somebody that you think would find it valuable. It does help the algorithm and help the channel grow. And again, want to give a shout out to you guys. I never would have imagined we get to like 160,000 subscribers over on YouTube. We're on Facebook, YouTube, X, and then over here on TikTok. All probably get my other disclaimer out of the way. Nothing here is for financial advice. It's only for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please always consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. If you need an investment advisor that can help you with crypto, we provide those at Digital Wealth Partners. It's an SEC registered RIA with close to $1 billion in AUM, about $300 million in the hedge fund, all crypto, the majority of which is XRP. So if that sounds cool to you, if you want an advisor that will actually tell you what to do with your crypto and help you meet your goals for investing, then you can go to digitalwealthpartners.net, go to the contact us form. This person says, "Are you the real Jake? Got all my fingers. I'm net AI. Wake up, Uncle Danny," says Justin Kincaid. Appreciate you, brother. Hope you guys are doing well. All right, so go ahead and jump into the questions here. We'll run it down for you guys for our normal 2 hours. My wife has sent me a super chat that I am being beckoned to answer here. Oh, she texted to me. That's going to be difficult because I'm on the TikTok over here. So we'll try to figure this out while I'm live on TikTok. Oh, and it's in a photo. All right. The question was about investing into the funds with the payouts. Can we create an S-Corp to help minimize tax burden, or any other recommendations on when to create an S-Corp or other options? So we do a lot of estate planning for people with their digital assets. Just for context here, for people that might be watching this new, most of the time we set up an LLC or limited liability corporation here domestically in the US, and we set those up internationally also through partnerships that we have in multiple jurisdictions. So if you are international and you want to figure out how to structure yourself to mitigate taxes and protect your assets, you can just email info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. We got a full list of partners that we'll share for you depending on where you are and where you're going to be. So that aside, here domestically in the US, an LLC, you can elect to be taxed as an S-Corp. So you're going to get the limited liability from that corporation, which you would get from the S-Corp also. And you're also going to get pass-through taxation. So that means you're not going to get taxed at the corporate level. And then again, at the personal level, the taxes flow through onto your personal return. So if you make a bunch of money in the corporation, that just flows through to you as the individual, but you're going to get the full breadth of the tax code at the corporate level to be able to offset those tax implications. There's some nuances that go along with that. You do have to pay yourself a reasonable salary here in the US, which most of the time somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000. That can also be paid to your spouse. You are going to have to pay W-2 taxes on that portion that you're paying out. And you can have a non-profitable corporation for 2 to 3 years. It's called disregarded entity, and that's fine in the eyes of the IRS. Just get with your CPA to make sure you're filing your tax return the right way. I'm not a CPA. This is not tax advice. I'm just going to give you my 2 cents based on all of the wonderful professionals that we work with and what we see most often. So on the S-Corp subject, most of the time we don't set up S-Corps. And the reason for that is if you own crypto inside of a C-Corp or an S-Corp, if you are in a lawsuit and somebody does win the lawsuit against you and they take control of your stock, they can liquidate your assets. Not good. Don't want that. You want equity units. You want the protections of an LLC. And you want it set up in the right jurisdiction. We most of the time set people up in Wyoming because there's really strong creditor protection there in Wyoming. You get charging order protection very similar to Nevada, which is where I am today. In addition to that, the regulation in Wyoming is very favorable for digital assets. So, the other thing about an S-Corp that's not so great is a trust cannot own it. Another entity cannot own it. It has to be an individual owner. So if you want to move this inside of your living trust, no go. If it's an S-Corp. LLC, no problem. You can move the ownership into your trust. So for those reasons, 99.9% of the time, it doesn't make sense to structure your holding company that's going to manage your assets if the assets are going to be held in that company as an S-Corp. Sometimes we will see people set up a C-Corp that is the management entity that manages the LLC and the assets beneath it. If you're making a lot of money and a lot of money is rolling up to that C-Corp, you can put your living trusts on there, and those can be, own the stock of that C-Corp. And we do that in more, advanced estate planning with some of our larger clients that are, planning on executing pretty significant sell orders or are going to use the assets to reduce income north of $1 million a year. Is when we start looking at that. So the second part of their question here was the goal was initially arch lending, but we are leaning toward 2 funds and the upcoming yield product to stagger payouts monthly. But my wife and I are not risk adverse. I think we decided to split 50-50 for the 2 funds and pay out quarterly versus using a risk tolerance product like yield, unless you think differently. That's where we are confused about when or if we should create an S-Corp. Our long-term goal is to create an LLC for the real estate investments. I'll get with my DWP advisor to work that out. Yeah, so you always want to use an LLC to hold your real estate. Each property should be in its own LLC. Tennessee is really the only state where series LLCs hold up. So if you had multiple properties in Tennessee, you wouldn't need to file, another LLC every single time to manage the properties. You can do a series LLC underneath the same one. But for any other state, you're going to want to file an LLC in that state, wherever the real estate is, in order to hold that property. But I digress. So we'll go back to the other piece. You talked about the other products that we have. Highly recommend talking with your advisor on this. Again, I can't give you financial advice. I'm not licensed. I actually don't work at Digital Wealth Partners at all. I own the company. We have a president and chairman of the board. We have a whole board. We have a CEO. We have full C-suite. All the people over there manage all of the money for our clients. I don't do that. So I can't give you financial advice, but I can tell you how I'm playing it. So we do have 2 funds that are available. You do need to be accredited to participate in those. One is an income fund and one is a growth fund. The income fund pays you quarterly distributions in cash. The growth fund compounds your asset annually. You have the option to withdraw a portion of it at that point. So, well, sooner than that too, if you want to, but most of the people, like if you want it to compound, you need to leave it in there, right? Because you're going to get the additional gains for, you made some more XRP this quarter, you want to leave it in there so it continues to compound on itself faster. So those are the 2 products that are live today. We are going to have a yield product live in the very near future that's going to pay somewhere between 3 and 5% for people inside of institutional custody, same as the others. And I think it depends on your age and again, your risk tolerance, time horizons, goals, all that stuff. The CD or yield type product is going to be a monthly payout. We do charge fees monthly. So I think that's been a lot of people's opposition to moving their assets over to our side is it does cost money, right? And I get that. We always want to be providing more value than we're charging. We've had multiple people pay for their entire year's worth of fees just off one distribution over a quarter from the income fund or from the growth fund. So, but there's some upfront cost in that, right? Like you move it in and it's going to be 3 months worth of AUM fees before you're going to get that distribution to allow you to cover the whole year potentially. And again, that's not guaranteed. The returns on those funds aren't guaranteed. They are returns. They are not yield. It fluctuates quarter to quarter. We're targeting somewhere between 6 and 20% a year on both of those funds. So if you do have a higher risk tolerance, there is a risk of loss on those funds. It is small. There's no counterparty risk, and we've mitigated all the risk and the volatility in the asset, which performed perfectly. On 1010, we saw 9 times the largest liquidation event we've ever seen, and we lost no XRP because that's our number 1 rule. Don't lose XRP. Our second rule is refer to rule number 1. So that's the game that we play. We want to make sure that we're preserving wealth over the long term and then growing it. Preserve the wealth is the first one. Grow it is the second one. So I personally currently participate in the income fund, but I do think that I'm going to appropriate maybe 20 or 30% of my assets into the yield product, just to make sure that I'm always covering cost and fees. And then, the additional upside on the funds is where I think, I'll be able to take some cash out and pay for lifestyle and do other stuff with it like people want to. I think that most people probably have a lower risk appetite. I say that I'm pretty risk adverse, but at the same time, I have a longer time horizon. I'm in my 30s, whereas the majority of our clients are somewhere between 40 and 70. And because of that, I think that you're going to see the majority of them appropriate maybe 50% of their portfolio, 30 to 50% of their portfolio toward the yield-based product. And then, they'll be able to diversify across the other fund products based on their objectives and goals and what their advisor, works with them to do to be able to meet those. So, hopefully that gives you some high level just frameworks to think through when you're looking at that stuff. This person says we're all going broke. XRP is dead. I think all of you are going to be very surprised in the very near future about what XRP does now that we have the ETFs eating through the OTC desk and the dark pool volume. There's not a whole lot left over there. My guess was there was somewhere between $1 billion and maybe up to $2 billion available on the OTC and dark pools. They've already eaten through about 800 million XRP here in just the first week from that. So that's either half or almost all of what was available on the OTC desk in the dark pools. As soon as that is gone, and we're getting more ETFs, more spot ETFs for XRP are launching, and we still don't have the big dogs at the table yet. We still don't have BlackRock, and we still don't have Vanguard. We still don't have Fidelity. I think they're all coming to the table in the very near future with their spot ETFs for XRP. So that would put, if those three came online, we would have more spot ETFs than Bitcoin. And we, people are like, well, they're only going to buy off the OTC and dark pools, and we're never going to see price appreciation. Strap in because it's not going to last that much longer. We already saw some price movement today. You're going to see some crazy price movement when there's no more available supply through the OTC desk and the dark pools, and they have to go to the exchanges. We already saw a glimmer of this over there on Kraken last week, where we saw XRP at a high of $91, which registered. There's been lots of high prices in the past on BitTrue and Bitstamp and some of these other ones where people video it. But like you go back to look for it and it's not registered. This $91 registered on Kraken.com. So look out. I think a lot of people are going to be very surprised that a lot of what I've been talking about for the past 18 months is going to come to pass here. And a lot of people that have been, touting that I'm crazy, which I am. I'll just go ahead and admit that I'm a little crazy. But I think you have to be. I think you have to be to believe when other people don't, right? To have faith in the face of other people, you have to be a little off. And I'm okay with that, because that's who changes the world. It's the crazy people. So anyway, hopefully that gives you some perspective on some of the products that we offer over there at Digital Wealth Partners. Do have to be accredited to participate in the funds today. But we will have those, the yield-based product available to all clients in the very, very near future. Minimum is 50,000 XRP today, or at least $500,000 in total portfolio value for your crypto if you don't have 50,000 XRP. So we'll go ahead and jump to the other questions here. We got Wandering Scholar. They say, Jake, sorry if you've been over this, but hasn't Swift already chosen Consensus, Ethereum Layer 2 for cross-border payment pilot? So Brad Garlinghouse actually put out a shareholders update about that exact topic. And he stated that he believed it was more of a marketing ploy in their lead up to Sibos. He's been on stage with Swift 6-7 years ago. They've been on the Faster Payments Committee and part of all of the other large committees globally for faster payments for a long time. Swift, just to come out with something today that they think they want to use, and it's an Ethereum Layer 2. You're telling me they're going to settle with Ethereum for cross-border payments, $5 trillion a day? It would snap the network in half. Like the fees and the volume and the latency Ethereum would crumble. Now, could it act like, a Polygon or a Matic? And maybe it does. I haven't done enough research on this one specifically to tell you exactly how it works, but it would have to settle back on the L1. Like that's how it ultimately ends up having to happen. So you could do batch payments. Maybe you could do batch payments through that. I don't think they want to do batch payments. They're already doing batch payments today. And they need something with a significantly higher TPS to be able to settle. And they'll use Chainlink for an Oracle for the smart contracts and to port stuff on chain, which is also interoperable with the XRPL through the Oracle's amendment that was passed. I think it was like XLS 40. So I am not concerned about it at all. I know that Swift will end up using XRP. They won't use Ripple, but I do think they're going to use R3. And we know how that's going to go if you guys have watched any of my content before this. This person, Aaron, appreciate the super chat. He says, World something financial WLFI agenda versus Ripple. Eric and Don Jr. love BTC and ETH Layer 2 blockchain. Reverse carry hurt Trump before midterms pushed all in XRP, the $19 XRP to come on board with DWP. What price to yield 10K per month to retire? Thank you. I talked to Eric Trump at SALT, got to see him at the after party there. And he's involved with American Bitcoin and many other things as well. The only way Bitcoin survives is if XRP gets adopted. It's the only way that it creates a scalable solution for them to actually, utilize Bitcoin as a store of value or gold, digital gold. Even for that narrative to work out, it has to move on the XRPL. So you're going to see all of that liquidity and all of that volume, irrespective of if it rotates, which I think it will, out of the ETFs into the XRP ETFs. Later on, I do think Bitcoin probably is around. Maybe it does get to $1 million. That's great. I'm kind of 70-30 on that, whether Bitcoin goes to zero. I'm probably 70% zero, 30% $1 million. 3 out of 10 shot to $1 million, 7 out of 10, it goes to zero. And that's the same thing Michael Saylor says. Michael Saylor says it's either zero or $1 million. It's one of the two. MicroStrategy is another big deal that's a potential problem for the market in the near future as well. If we continue to see Bitcoin move to the downside, I think they only have about $50 million on their balance sheet to be able to cover about $700 million worth of debt that's currently outstanding. And if people are selling off shares and putting pressure on the stock, and they're going to have to start selling off BTC because they won't be able to raise additional capital with the at the market products. And so once they start selling off BTC, it's a continued down pressure on BTC. The DATs are going to cause a lot of problems for both Bitcoin and ETH in the not too distant future, in my personal opinion, but that's yet to be seen. So the last part of the question here is he asked, how do you get to $10,000 a month to retire? So let's work this out. It's going to be about 120 grand a year. Let's say we're paying you, we'll call it conservative and make it 3% on the yield product. We've got fees that come out of that, depending on the amount that you have at these higher prices that you're going to have to be in order to get the 10 grand a month. It's going to be like 40 basis points for anything over 10 million. So fees are going to be fairly negligible. But we'll call it 2.5 just for math here. So I don't have my calculator out in front of me. Let me pull up my other phone here because everybody gives me hell if I'm wrong on my math. I know how you guys are, which is okay. I appreciate y'all holding me accountable. I'll take it. All right, so we got 120 grand. We're going to divide by 2.5. We're going to multiply that by 100. 40. Let's do it again. 120,000 divided by 2.5. It's $48,000 times 100. So 4.8 million. If you had $4.8 million in XRP, earning about 3% a year minus our fees for the AUM would cover you about 10 grand a month to the upside, to the good in the yield product. And that's a very conservative amount. So let's call it 50,000 XRP at $100. A lot of people have $5 million at that point. So I don't think that's too outlandish. I think there'll be a lot of people that have $5 million in XRP in the not too distant future and will love parking it in a risk-free yield generating product that pays them 3 to 5% a year. All right, we'll go ahead and run down some more super chats here. Again, appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday night to come hang out with me. If you like what you hear here and you want to learn more, I go a lot more in depth in the mastermind group that we have that's beyond very confident that we are going to see a significantly higher price for XRP this year, 3 digits, 4 digits, 3 digits, I think, is, I've said this before, 99.999999% likely. 4 digits, it's going to take some extra stuff rolling out this year. But it's completely plausible with everything that could unwind. So if you want to be in the mastermind, you're going to need to be before price hits $10. At $10, we are locking it down. It'll be invite only, and the prices for people will be substantially higher. So if you do want to go check that out, we would love to have you in there before the price moves. And again, that's beyondbroke.com. You can use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2, and then you're in it. Wetter says, Mr. Legend, what's up, man? Can't wait for one of those in-person dinners. If Clarity Act does get passed and the RTC doesn't unwind, can XRP still price appreciation because of adoption in other countries? Look, I don't know how to tell you that I know that that's not how things are going to play out. But even if they were, if you did get the Clarity Act, XRP still stands, head and shoulders above all these other protocols. It's trialed, it's tested, the integrations and everything else that it has, the amendments that have been passed on the chain, everything that's required to be able to operate in an institutional capacity. It's there. Solana doesn't quite make it. And not to say that Solana is not great. Solana is awesome. They've done a lot over the past 2 years to really shore up the network since they had significant downtime. They really haven't had anything recently. The XRP has paused twice for very short periods of time, but it's never been down. The banks aren't going to adopt anything that at scale and at volume is going to potentially go down. So, between XRP and XLM, I think they pretty well got it covered. Even if the Clarity Act does pass, but I do think that there's a big moat for XRP currently in the US. And I just want to touch on the dinners here. If you guys do want to check that out, we would love to have you at one of our private dinners. This is something new that I'm hosting. The next one is in Dallas on December 9th. We're about halfway full. We're only taking 20 people. You can bring your spouse. You get a hotel room. We pay for dinner there. We put on a whole, dog and pony show for people, basically. But you can ask all your questions. You're also going to get to meet all the other cool people in the room, network with other high net worth individuals and people that, you're going to want to know post price appreciation. So if that sounds cool to you, they are $5,000 to register, but you do get you and your spouse. We were charging, $5,000 for a 30-minute consult, which I was like, no way people are going to pay this. And then people were continually paying it. I don't like that. Like if I can't provide you $5,000 of value, I feel crappy about it. These dinners, I guarantee you're going to get your money out of it. And, it's between you and your spouse or you and your buddy. If you got a crypto buddy, we are only going to pay for one hotel room. So, you may have to pick up the other hotel room if it's you and your crypto buddy. But I think that's a lot better value for that price point rather than just getting on a Zoom call with me for 30 minutes to be able to run through things. Some people I can absolutely provide $5,000 worth of value for. But yeah, there's people that have, 20,000 XRP or 30,000 XRP that pay that much to I feel bad about it. And I don't like that. I always want to provide people more value than they're paying. And so anytime we're at a discrepancy like that, I'm going to shift things and make it, more valuable of an experience for what's going on. This person says, what's the event? There's a dinner in Dallas that's an in-person dinner with me. I put it on. We go through, a bunch of education for people and we take all their questions. It's exclusive for 20 people. We have 10 people registered already. Edwin, don't tell people how much XRP you got, my man. freaking the internet here is kicking me on and off. Some say that the unwind alarm has people reacting already. Do you think the ETFs are performing? Yeah, the ETFs are absolutely performing already. And again, they're already eating up all of the OTC XRP and all the dark pool XRP. So, they're absolutely doing everything that they're supposed to do. When the big dogs show up, that's when we're going to see big price movements. Wayne, appreciate you on the super chat, brother. He says, Captain Jake, how many times a day do you flick the bobblehead? Wayne got me a bobblehead, which is wild. Thank you so much for the very cool thing that you got me. It's on my desk, and occasionally I do, bobble the head. Does it look like the real Bitcoin decoupling? Bitcoin up 1%, XRP up 10%. Looks legit. Time. I like to watch the XRP Bitcoin chart is primarily what I'm looking at. This person says LLC and trust. You can go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF, 50OFF DAG LLC. That's 50OFF DAG LLC. They get you everything for 50% off. Normally for the trust and the LLC, we do $5,000. But if you do it that way, it's $2,500. And that's everything end to end that you would need to manage your digital assets and structure your living trust in whatever state you reside in. And then the other person's asked for the discount code on the Mastermind. It is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, like Mary Oscar, gets you the first month for $2. So back to the question at hand. Are we decoupling from Bitcoin? I like to watch the XRP Bitcoin chart, and it does look like we are. It's not over the hump yet, but if we see, another 10% move on XRP while Bitcoin continues to stay stable or down, I think we're there. I think that you're going to start to see the rotation here. Again, Epstein and JP Morgan, I don't know if you guys have seen the uproar over there on Twitter or not, but Jack Mallers has been debanked by JP Morgan. And there's a lot of files that are circulating about emails between Epstein and JP Morgan, and they talk about crypto. So it's very interesting, some of the things that I think are about to play out here. I think that there's going to be a huge narrative shift potentially against Bitcoin. I'm nor here nor there. I'm just talking about, public perception and perspective and what happens with that. There could be a complete lie that that Bitcoin is associated with Epstein. But if that is the public narrative, it's going to have an impact. Does that mean the ETFs get delisted? I don't know. But I do think that there is going to be a lot of people that decide that they want to move away from that. Dan Pena has been touting for years that if you knew who Bitcoin, you would be running the other direction. You'd sell it immediately. So maybe he knows what's going on. The $1 trillion man, Dan Pena. Nico, they say, hey, Jake, hopefully we'll get price appreciation before January. Or I'll be selling my XRP to make the bills. Yes, I'm officially broke. Thanks for all that you do, legend. So this is probably an example of something that's not good. Not to rag on you, Nico. You shouldn't invest more than you're willing to lose or put yourself in a difficult financial position to invest in this or over leverage yourself. That's not what any of this information that I put out is meant to achieve or advocate for. We always want to, work with people to make good financial decisions. And again, that's why we have Digital Wealth Partners. We have multiple CFPs, which are certified financial planners over there at Digital Wealth Partners. That'll help you look at your financial situation, assess your goals, and then allocate appropriately discretionary income that you're not going to need to live your lifestyle or pay your bills. So that's up to you. I do think that things are going to move aggressively here. And if you feel compelled to take additional risk, that's on your own volition. Again, what I'm talking about here is not financial advice. So make sure you're doing what's best for you and your family when you're investing in crypto. We've got Alan. He says, Jake, I want to with you one day, but don't have the amount needed. Please lower the amount and help the lower end XRP holders. So we've already lowered the amount. So just for context here, we are it. Nobody else deals with retail at all. The other two family offices that are SEC registered RIAs that do manage crypto, you need at least $20 million to even approach them and have a conversation. We have, things are at $500,000, and now with 50,000 XRP, it's at $100,000. You're not going to find another wealth manager out there anywhere that's going to take less than 100 grand to manage. We are at the bottom of the barrel for what makes sense for economics and commercials on the type of business that we run. We are working on additional solutions. I can tell you that. Like, this is not falling on deaf ears. I absolutely want to help everyone. Believe me, we are trying to build solutions that are completely capable of doing that. Currently, with the system infrastructures and partners that we have, it's not feasible today. Not if I don't want to go out of business. So, we'll just say it's 10,000 XRP. That's $20,000. If I'm charging you 2% a year on $20,000, it'd be $400 a year. And you're probably gonna have to sell off XRP to even make the fees. Like, we don't want to do that for people. And not because we don't want to help people, but because I don't want to put people in a position where they have to sell off XRP to cover our fees. Again, we want to make sure that there's products and situations in place to be able to cover all of that stuff. This person says, your website says digital asset LLC is 4,000. Yeah, it's 4,000 for the LLC, but it's 5,000 if you want to add the trust. But you can use the code 50OFF, 50OFFDAG LLC, and they get you everything for $2,500 or 2,000 if it's just the LLC, versus the higher price. Which, if you work with any other law firm in Wyoming, you're going to be pretty close to $4 grand if you get it done the right way. So anyway, we are absolutely working to accommodate everybody and build scalable solutions and products. I don't know how to impress upon you guys, like, the banks are not doing this. They do not care. They care about, again, like I just stated, if you got $20 million or more, they would love to help you. They don't care about the little guy. We do. We care about the little guy. We want to work with you from the beginning. We want to make sure that these products and solutions are in place. And again, that's why we lowered the minimum to where we did. And we will continue to accommodate people with lesser and lesser amounts post price appreciation, because their assets will be worth significantly more, and all the commercials and economics make sense at that level. And we'll roll out additional stuff that'll be kind of like a segue to be able to get on with Digital Wealth Partners in Q1. We've got Lee. He says, if the reverse carry trade does unwind, what do you expect it to do to the price of XRP? I expect it to be volatile. That's all I can tell you. Do I see it getting cut in half with everything else? It's possible. Do I see it skyrocketing to $100 very quickly? Yes. What's the jagged shape that it takes to get there? I don't know. I'm betting on the long term, right? So I know a lot of people want me to tell you this is the play-by-play, like this is what's going to happen, and then this. I see everything that's stood up, and all of it is necessary for everything to fall over and us to get the movement that we need. In what order that's going to happen, I'm just going to to push it to the levels that are going to be required in order to be able to mitigate that situation. Problem, reaction, solution. Okay. So keep an eye on oil. There's a lot of things going on out there with both Venezuela, all three really, Venezuela, Russia, and in the Middle East. Any one of those situations that were to exacerbate could cause a significant jump in oil's price. And we're right at the levels where that usually happens. If you look back over the last 60 years, we're right on the trend line where there tends to be a violent trend, reaction of oil and aggressive move to the upside, which is exactly what I've been talking about. That'll cause inflation in Japan. They'll have to raise interest rates. They have a scapegoat. All the things that I've been talking about for 18 months unwinds on the other side of oil spiking. Tiddlywinks 82. Okay. They say, on helping 1 million people become financially free, when your price prediction comes true, through me alone, you would have helped 45 people achieve that goal. Thank you for all that you do and your team. 4 digits. Woohoo. See, that's cool, man. Like, that was the goal. And I mean, it still is. I don't know that we'll get there in my lifetime. That's a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure that Dave Ramsey, and I don't agree with Dave on the majority of the stuff that he says, but I bet he's helped 1 million people become financially free, which is really cool to be able to say. I'm young, I'm in my 30s again. So, God willing, I'll be around a long time and hopefully achieve that goal. That is our stated mission at beyondbroke.com, is to help 1 million people become financially free. And thank you for sharing that. It's messages like that that make it worth it. There's a lot of people that don't like what I'm doing for whatever reason. That's okay. Not everybody's going to. I'm here for the people that we can help and will help. And all of the other stuff is well worth it in order to make sure that people do have, more opportunity and benefit in their life for their family and those around them. The crypto couple, I like it. Very cool. They say, Mr. Legend, enjoyed meeting you in San Francisco. How are you going to feel when XRP reaches those prices and you are trillion or way more in AUM? Are you concerned about BlackRock doing hostile takeover or buyout of Ripple and or of DWP? It's a good question. I never want to put our clients or customers in a position where they become a number. That is my number one objective. But, I do think that we will manage $10 trillion by the time I'm 40 years old. Especially, at this rate, we've gone from 0 to $1 billion in 1 year. And with the price appreciation on XRP and how many other people want to work with us. And we're going to continue to build cool products and services. We're always going to be on the bleeding edge of this. I think that we will be, if I get what I'm trying to achieve, you've got Evernorth, you've got these other ETFs and other DATs and other things that are going to get access to large liquidity pools and DeFi on the XRPL. We want to be that conduit for the average person to be able to participate in that stuff in a more hands-off way. The majority of our client base is, again, 45 to 70 years old. They're scared to use DeFi. Most of them don't want to move their assets off of an exchange. They want a safe way to earn returns and get exposure to the upside on the asset. They don't want to sell the bare asset. They want to be able to pass that down to their kids. There are younger people and even older people that are very savvy with Flare and with other DeFi protocols that I think will be able to participate. Now, the liquidity pools are going to be interesting. Liquidity pools, I think, are going to end up being SPVs here domestically in the US. I think they're going to need oversight by somebody. And in addition to that, they're going to have, the regulatory compliance as a securities offering. And because of that, I think most people won't be able to participate unless they're a qualified purchaser or an accredited investor. And I think the best way to be able to do that is participate through a corporation or a trust for your anonymity, especially if that's going to be on a public blockchain. Now, we have David Schwartz talking about zero knowledge proofs and all of that coming to the XRPL. I don't think that was something he just wrote down on the back of a napkin the other day. I think he's been thinking about it for a long time. But, I think, and there's, people talk about like confiscation of your XRP. If it's inside of a corporate treasury, they're not taking that. If it's in your personal name, that might happen. They did that to people with gold. So we'll have to see how things play out. I don't think there's no downside to setting up your crypto inside of a corporation, right? You're managing creditor risk. You're getting the full benefit of the tax code to be able to offset things. You get the anonymity that comes along with that if you do it the right way and work with an attorney to set it up. If you use LegalZoom and you try to do it yourself, you're still going to list all of your personal information on there, which kind of negates the whole benefit of using an LLC to begin with. Like, you want the anonymity, you want the privacy that goes along with it. So, we will be managing hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in the not too distant future. And, that's what keeps me up at night, to be honest with you. I want to make sure that we're able to generate returns for people at scale with that amount of money under management. And that's not an easy task. It's not easy at all. I mean, you see Warren Buffett parks the majority of what he's got, $400 billion plus in treasuries, because like, what else are you going to do with it at that point? And the check size that you have to cut to even participate in anything is, $1 billion to be able to, like, if you had $400 billion investments, I mean, you're investing in data centers, maybe some large, commercial properties, late stage capital, or private or publicly traded companies. Like, there's really only a couple places aside from treasuries that you could park that much money. And so we're working on solutions to be able to continue to get access to asymmetric bets in both private equity, early stage, for smaller check sizes. But that, becomes a whole division of the business itself with underwriting and analysts and, probably 20 to 50 employees, just managing those allocations. And then you need that for every other asset class also. So at scale, unless we're really leveraging AI, which I'm trying to lean toward, we're going to be a massive corporation. Bessemer Trust, just for perspective, manages about $160 billion for about 1,000 families here in the US, and they have 3,000 employees. Today, we have about 50 employees at Digital Ascension Group across our corporations for all the private client services that we provide our clients specific to crypto. So, but yeah, I do think that, either BlackRock or JP Morgan probably will come knocking, and it's likely we will have to entertain that conversation when they do. But I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you guys never end up a number. Anything with venture capital, I've footed the bill for this whole thing. It's all out of my pocket, because I don't want outside people coming in and telling me what I should and shouldn't do, and stripping out costs or stripping out things that are a benefit for the client, and hiking prices on people. I've done everything I can to offer a very good product at a fair price in order to continue to scale and meet demand and make sure that this is available for people post price appreciation. Because if I didn't do it, the banks definitely weren't. This person says, happy birthday to your lovely wife. Her birthday is a little further along than now. Different time of year, but I appreciate the sentiment. Cheers for all the education, value, and opportunities you create for us. It's just the beginning. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, ma'am. This person says, legend of Las Vegas. I will take it. Thank you for the compliment. Hopefully, I think we're right here on the precipice of everything that I've been talking about for the last 18 months to roll. The end of this year is going to be extremely exciting for people. And maybe I'll just pause and touch on that for a second before we continue with the questions. Anytime you're making emotional decisions, you can make poor choices, whether you're overly excited or way down in the dumps. It doesn't matter. When you have a lot of emotion, you want to step back from that situation, clear your thoughts, take your time, be methodical, breathe, do pros and cons on stuff. And this is why we want to work with people and be proactive to make sure that they're not having a reactionary decision at the time of price appreciation. Ideally, you've already thought through these things. You have an exit plan. If you have one at whatever price points, you know what you're going to do with that money. You know what the tax implications are going to be. You've structured it in your estate to be able to mitigate that best that you can. You've already had these conversations. You've already, set up your board of advisors or people that are around you to help you make good decisions and manage that money. If you've got 50,000 XRP or 100,000 XRP and it goes to $100 in a very short period of time, and you haven't done these things, you now have $5 or $10 million in a very short period of time. And if you thought it was only going to go to $10, or you only thought it was going to go to $5, or you only thought it was going to go to $25 maybe, you're in a very different position than you would have been otherwise, and you probably didn't think through that. So, again, that's the reason that I talk about a lot of the things that I do on here is there are way more people in that situation than you guys would believe. I am blown away by, there's 7 million wallets on the XRPL. And, you know, a lot of those are almost empty. You know, 2.8 million have like less than 10 XRP in them. There's another group that's, you know, lesser amounts that are holding, you know, small remnants of what they used to hold, or just, you know, a couple dollars here and there that they can invest. But then the next group of cohort of people is probably, I don't know, somewhere between 250 and 300,000 people globally that have more than 50,000 XRP. And a lot of those people have multiple wallets. We talked to a lot of them. Some of them are holding their assets on an exchange. So they're, you know, counted in Uphold or Coinbase or Kraken or Caleb and Brown or wherever else they're holding them. I say that Caleb and Brown has segregated wallet addresses. So they don't have an omnibus account. But I digress. You know, there's only 7 million of those. We got 400,000 people on the planet that have 50,000 XRP. People are like, well, they wouldn't let that many people get wealthy. This is going to sound how it's going to sound. Most people are going to mess it up. And I don't wish that upon anybody. It is literally just a statistic. Lottery winners, 3 to 5 years after they win the lottery, go bankrupt. 70% of them. So that leaves 30% of people that like figured it out, structured it the right way, you know, paid the taxes, didn't put themselves in a bad situation or a worse situation than they were before they came into the money. So hopefully you've spent the last 5 years of the Ripple lawsuit and everything else, if you've been around, educating yourself, surrounding yourself with the right people, making sure that you were prepared, doing your due diligence and planning things accordingly for this life-changing event that we're on the precipice of, and making sure that, you know, you're structured the right way and you're set up to take full advantage of it and not make emotional decisions the day of when you see those numbers in your wallet. Michael says, what up, legend? Can I meet with your office so I can work on institutional digital assets? I don't want to do it over the phone or online. I'm scared I might screw it up. I live in the Dallas area. We have people. If you are going to move your assets over to DWP, you've already got the LLC set up, you've onboarded with them, and you just need help to move the assets over. When you get to that point, just reach out to our team. We have a lot of people come in and out of Dallas all the time, many advisors, and somebody can help you. It's pretty simple, you know, but I get it. It's scary if you're moving a lot of money, if you're moving your whole life savings and you mess something up and it's just gone to the abyss. Like, believe me, I get it. We always do a test transaction, send a small transaction from your device, wherever you're holding it, or the exchange over to the institutional custody at Anchorage inside your own vault, your own wallet address. You'll make sure it lands there, it's in your account, and then you would send the rest of it. But we're absolutely, you know, happy to help you do that with somebody on our team if you are in Dallas. We got USMC. He says, Jake of all trades, what's up, man? If Clarity passes before the catalysts play out, couldn't they use something else like ETH or Sol, rendering XRP worthless? Again, I touched on this earlier. Neither one of those networks work at scale like the XRP does for settlement, the XRPL. And Ethereum's crashed because of the volume on it before. Solana has too. Institutions aren't going to adopt anything that's had problems in its past. Whether, you know, like, and it could be better now. I think that it is better now. I think I'm blown away by the work that Solana's done to be able to help, you know, build their blockchain into an institutional blockchain and provide value. You got R3 touting it. It still doesn't have clarity until the Clarity Act passes, like you mentioned. But there's a lot of components that are on Solana that don't allow it to be scalable like the XRPL. So even if we got the Clarity Act passed, which I don't think is going to happen, well, early next year, again, I don't know how to tell you guys without telling you, like, pretty confident that what I'm telling you is going to play out. There's not going to be any other options. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the super chats here. So if you're just now tuning in, please get it in real quick. I hate when people pay for a super chat and I don't get to it, and I'm going to run for another hour here. And if I don't get to it, I'm going to feel bad. So if you couldn't, if you're here and you want to ask a question, go ahead and run it up. I'm going to work up from the bottom of the chat here. Going once, going twice, sold. All right, we're going to go ahead and go up from that comment. Our Neck of the Woods says, what can you do for ones that have joined the XRP bandwagon, but are just blue-collar gentlemen that have no home assets and lives in an apartment, but when it hits 50,000, they will have 30 million? That's going to be a little while from now. I'm sure that we will be able to work with you way before it's $30 million. At a $10,000 XRP, you'd have $3 million. No. Be 5 times less than that. So what does that end up being? $6 million. Yeah, we'd be able to work with you at that point. $10,000 XRP, $1,000 XRP, you'd have 600,000. Don't tell people how much you have. They can do the math. So, everybody's investing all that they can at whatever their discretionary income is. I think that that's the best way to go about it. Again, I don't want you to put yourself in a position where you can't pay your bills or you're over leveraged or it causes other financial frictions in your life. I don't think that that's healthy or a good choice. But this is a good way for people to get out of a situation or be able to retire someday in the not too distant future, in the next 5 years, like you're talking about here. I think that it could be $50,000 by the end of Trump's term. I've talked about that on a previous podcast and people lost their minds. 2028, $50,000 XRP. Yeah. Derivatives. If we get the derivatives market for XRP, $50,000. For sure. That's going to take time. There's got to be things that happen between now and then. There are other catalysts. There's a huge adoption curve that has to happen. Ripple has to be extremely successful. Codius has to launch. There's a lot of things that have to happen between now and then, but I do think they will, and I do think it'll be $50,000 at the end of Trump's term in 2028. And you would have, your 30 million bucks at that point. And we would love to work with you if that is the case. But until, our minimum is likely going to go to 1.1 million post price appreciation. And maybe even a little bit higher in that in the short term, just to be able to onboard everybody, because we got to scale operations, systems, people, got to train people. People want to deal with people, right? And a lot of people, I would say that we have a portal where people can onboard themselves, but people want to talk to somebody, especially with all the crazy stuff that's happened in this asset class. Like, that makes sense. You would want somebody you can reach out to and have a conversation with and know that things are legit and secure. And that's why we do all the in-person events that we do. That's why you get assigned an advisor. And we want to make sure that we're able to continue providing all of those solutions and benefits at scale. So as things, roll here, it is going to take a lot of stuff in order to be able to meet the demand that I know that we're going to have, especially when we roll out this yield product for people. I think a lot of you are going to be really excited about what we got cooking. I wish I could say more. Hopefully we get some things across the line here in the next week or two, and I can put it out publicly what's going on. We've got Cody Stokes. He says, people with less than 1,000 XRP can't really prepare in the same way as the wealthy who have their small bags in a cold wallet. What do they do post price appreciation? Sit on your hands. If you don't have enough money in there to change your life and really affect your life in a meaningful way, and you are willing to wait it out, you will be rewarded. Many people have been here for 5+ years, 6, 7, 8 years, some of us. And those people will be well rewarded because they continued to dollar cost average over the last 5-6 years and continued to buy and stack while they could, what extra income they had. They sacrificed things. They put themselves in a position to be able to capitalize on this. If you're new and you've bought in just recently at the higher price point, you're still going to be able to do very well, but you're also going to have an extended time frame and period of time that you have to wait in order to be able to, achieve the level of wealth that a lot of people want to in order to be able to retire off of crypto. If you got to $1,000 times 1,000 XRP, that's $1 million. That's life-changing for some people, but you can't really retire on that today, unfortunately. Maybe if you're like 90 years old, you could retire on $1 million. But if you're younger, even at 70, you're probably going to need 3, 4, 5 million just to make sure that you have enough to produce income for yourself without touching the principal. Or even if you're going to sell off the principal over that period of time before you pass away, you could live another 20 years. You could live another 30 years if you're 70 years old. So, $1 million used to be a lot of money back in the 90s. Today, there are a lot of people that are millionaires in the US, and good for them. They made an investment either in a home or their job or other things, and they've been able to position themselves well. But it's not what it used to be. You really need probably $10 million to retire comfortably today. And so for that, you're going to need a $10,000 XRP, which I think will happen by the end of 2027, maybe sooner, maybe 26. Again, depends on derivatives and adoption across all markets and all these other things. But at that point, now you got your 10 million. And if you're earning 5% on that, that's $500,000 a year. Like, that's enough for most people to live pretty comfortable. If you're in California, if you're in New York, maybe not. But if you're in the majority of the US, Vegas is a little expensive here. Miami's a little expensive. Dallas, you can live very comfortably on $500,000 a year if you want to come move down by me. I need to be going the other way in the chat here. We got Key. Thank you for the super chat. They say US might strike Venezuela any day now. Oil, every morning coffee with enjoying morning coffee with these lives. They're the best. Thanks, man. Thank you for the super chat and the kind words, and paying attention. Hopefully, I went to school for finance. We took economics, all the fun stuff. It was super boring, but I like macroeconomics. Like, I was like, okay, like I kind of jived with that. And I've really picked that up as an adult in my 30s. I like looking at all the things that are happening all over the world and then trying to decipher the impacts across multiple economies and how different things are, pieces on the chessboard, if they're moved, what actually happens. And that's how I was able to orchestrate and come across through the critical thinking for the domino theory and put everything together. And again, that's why I'm so fixated on oil, that is going to be the catalyst that pushes Japan to have to raise interest rates. They're not going to do it otherwise. And it's also a really easy linchpin that can be manipulated by governments if they want to move that situation or progress it forward, whether people are ready or not. We've got Amber. Hey, ma'am. She says, hi, Jake. Live here in Canada. Will you do a live with Aaron Grinhoss for the Q&A anytime in the future? We could bring him into the Mastermind. I'd like to get Aaron into the Mastermind. I did another podcast with him the other day that I think our team's editing, and we should have up in the near future. And he just, went over a lot of the same stuff that we've talked about in the past. But I would love to get him in the Mastermind. If you guys, I love Aaron. Anytime I get him on a call, he pretty much does all the talking. He makes it very easy for me. I don't have to say a whole lot. Not that I like of the U.S., all over the world in different parts of the U.S., coming together through our community. We've got over 12,000 people in our community at this point, which I am so humbled and grateful and blown away by how many people want to participate in the culture that's been kept in the community. People want to help one another. They want to grow together. They want to meet people that they want to do business with and life with post price appreciation. Because that's another thing, right? Like your peer circle is going to change when you make all this money. And you want to make sure that you're around other people that have made it similar to you. They're going to go through similar experiences. You're going to be able to resonate with them. They're going to understand things about you and what's gone on that other people just aren't going to get. And you're not going to have to pay their way every single time when you go somewhere if they made a bunch of money the same way you did. So anyway, just really cool to see all the international people coming together. They have their own channels. They're in the Discord. There's probably 100 people from the UK. We've got over 100 people from Australia, over 100 people from Canada. We've got people in the broader EU. We have a lot of people domestic here in the US across multiple states that come together and do separate events that we don't even put on from the Mastermind. So it's really cool to see that it's come into a life of its own. And I think it's going to foster, again, the goal is to help 1 million people become financially free. Roar, OG, and Andre. He says, if I can create a trust and LLC with you guys, would I be able to add my real estate and other stuff to the trust now and over time? Also, do you see you guys being able to help people with 43,000 XRP? Yes and yes. You can absolutely, you'd want to set up a separate LLC for each piece of property that you have, but you could absolutely move those under the living trust that we set up for you in your state. So happy to work with you on that. Our team over there at Laughlin, our paralegal group, help us get everything situated for people, and they love to work with people that have other asset classes besides crypto. So happy to help you on that stuff. And with 43,000 XRP, I think you're going to, meet our minimum in the not too distant future as these ETFs do gobble up everything off the OTC market and the dark pools. And we finally get the big move when BlackRock launches their ETF and oil spikes in the very near future. We got CL Han. They say, I probably butchered that. Thank you for the super chat. They say, Jake, love your passion. Thank you. Took your advice last week and got the LLC going. Awesome, dude. Took heat that the money would have been better spent accumulating. Threshold you suggest to start that process. Somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 in total portfolio value. When you have that much crypto, especially when we see things, going to progress like they are, I think it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and start structuring things at that amount. Post price appreciation, you're probably going to bump that up a little bit. But if you are anticipating a 10x, 100x still, if XRP goes to $100, there's still at least 100x return to 10,000 in there. Yeah, probably still makes sense at $50,000 to $80,000 to structure the LLC. And that's where the cost to benefit starts to make sense. To your point, if you have less than that, it's probably better spent on, don't pay us $2,000, go buy more crypto with it if you got it. Or, another attorney. Again, don't have to use us. I've tried to make it as economical and the best out there for everything. We've done over 6,000 LLCs for people at this point, which is just, again, mind-blowing. There we go. Now I should be back on YouTube. Sorry about that. We do everything for the LLC for $2,000, end to end, and all of the filings and everything you need every single year for the first year, meeting minutes, board resolutions, equity issuance, all the stuff that you need to maintain your corporate veil and the creditor protection. And we also make sure you maintain the anonymity. If you do it through LegalZoom, probably, it's not going to work out for you. Trust costs $500. So if you want a living trust, if you're going to work with an attorney in your state, they're going to charge you $1,000 or $2,000 or $500 on a living trust. So again, we try to make things as economically feasible and cost effective as possible for everybody, for their crypto and for their personal stuff. Chris says, can we join DWP as a family group with 59,000 in XRP each, but more than 50K in family group? If I don't normally recommend that, pooling your XRP with your family. You can absolutely do it. It's called a family limited partnership, and we can structure that for you. It's a little more expensive, but that would be the way that you would do it, and you could still mitigate tax implications. If you have a partnership, you're going to get a step up in basis. So if you guys bought it like 30, 50, 60 cents on XRP, and now you're contributing it to the LLC at a higher cost, you're going to have tax implications, and it's going to reset your time frame that you're holding it. So you don't want to do a partnership. You want to do a family limited partnership and work with good attorneys to be able to structure that the right way. If you do want to pool your assets from your family in order to meet the minimum and move assets over. We've had a few people do that. Again, I don't normally recommend it. I would try to keep things separate. It's going to keep things, you're going to have to make sure that you have a lot of good conflict management documented in your operating agreement, who's responsible for what and how you're going to mitigate that conflict when it inevitably does arise. Pine Tree Reeler 422 says, legend, what's up? Time for the tinfoil hat talk. What happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. Let's have it. I don't think it works that way when I'm on a live video camera and it's recorded, and it will proliferate later on as got like 60 or 70,000 people that watch this back on YouTube at this point, which again just blows my mind. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to me in these lives. Like, I get so much fulfillment from doing these, again, traveling with my family, and I'm still on here knocking this out with you guys. I don't like missing them. I love, taking the questions and spending time with y'all. But again, just blown away by how many people do take the time to listen to this. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that does that. This person, Retro Brown 9737, says, if someone has less than 5,000 XRP, can we still join the mastermind? If no, what do you suggest post-price appreciation? Any veteran discounts? We actually just did a webinar for veterans the other day, and it is available in the mastermind. You don't have to have any XRP to join the mastermind. That group is for financial education and business resources and a community of other people to help you level up that are all unified in their long-term missions and values. And everybody has a little different personality, and that's okay. Everybody has different opinions about politics and other stuff. Also fine. We try to keep that out of the conversation. We try to keep things focused on, the financial education component of things. Inevitably, those pieces come up with macroeconomics and a lot of the stuff we discuss. But we do try to support one another. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Doesn't mean they're right. But at the end of the day, we want to foster people that want to help each other there in the group. And again, you don't have to have any XRP in order to join the group. We try to meet you where we are, or not where we are, meet you where you are. I've done this my whole career in all the stuff that I've put together for companies and for clients. I try to put everything out for free. So if you want to do it yourself, if you watch all the videos, you can probably set the LLC up at this point. You're going to know what to do. You're going to know how to allocate it. There's enough content out there to be able to figure it out. We also do done with you, right? So hold your hand, make sure you get things right, and then it's done for you. So there's kind of 3 levels to everything. And everybody's in a different spot and they want to do it different ways, and that is okay. We want to be able to accommodate and help everybody. That's why we do things the way that we do. But to that point, some people have a lot of XRP. Some people have a lot of digital assets. Some people have more other assets. Some people are just getting started out. They're 19, 20 years old, and they just want to learn about this stuff so that they can, not make mistakes and move along faster in life. Everybody's welcome there in the mastermind, especially at the social level, which is $25 a month, super cheap. And again, it's month to month. There's no contract. If at any point you guys don't find value in it or you don't think it's worth it, cancel anytime. And it's just $2 to start it off and try it out if you're interested. Again, it's beyondbroke.com. And if you use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for that $2. And again, post price appreciation, I cannot emphasize this enough. We're shutting it down. I did not know that we were going to make it to 12,000 people. I think we'll probably make it a couple more people. I don't think you're going to have a whole lot more time. So if you do want to join that community, I would consider doing that sooner than later and locking in the pricing that you have now. Because again, post price appreciation, it's invite only. And it's going to be substantially more expensive to participate. This person's asked if I can talk about XLM. Hyperledger is absolutely going to be used for merchant services and peer-to-peer payments. We've talked to a lot of enterprises that are using Hyperledger already. Hyperledger BOSU primarily. Bain Enterprises Bain Inc. Is a consulting firm that's helping people build things out on blockchain for enterprise infrastructure. We've talked to them. There's a lot of people that are using Hyperledger and XLM. For that application. I do think it's going to take a little bit longer. You're not going to see, peer-to-peer payments via stablecoin really come into vogue until I think late 26, early 27. The majority of the stablecoins that are going to be issued here in the U.S. in the short term are going to be for interbank settlement and intercompany settlement. So Amazon, Google, Facebook, X, all these other ones, they're continuing to aggregate money transmitter licenses, and they will issue stable coins. If you've got a Google Wallet or Apple Wallet, I do think that those are going to run on Hyperledger in the future. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, all that stuff, peer-to-peer payments, Hyperledger. Maybe Hedera also. That could be another one that could win that out. But as far as back-end institutional settlement, wholesale, large volume payments, it's XRP all day long. We've got Miguel. Thank you for the super chat, my man. He says, "Hey Jake, Carbon One member, awesome dude. Glad to have you in the mastermind." He says, "How will the reverse carry trade actually affect our XRP price? If I pay the 2K right now and get the LLC set up, is that enough to be on idle until price appreciation? Best moved after that. Let's go. Thanks for all that you do." Again, it depends on how much you currently have. If you're already above that $50,000 to $80,000 in total portfolio value, sure. Yeah, I think setting up the LLC at this point makes a lot of sense. If you're still stacking and you're not quite to that point yet, your money is better spent investing. Like, I want people to do what's best for them. Like, we're here to help people, and it's obviously a business and enterprise, and we do want to provide value and make money. We barely run in the black at this point because we're trying to scale so quickly and continue to build infrastructure and systems and tech in order to meet demand and continue to provide as much value as we can. So if you want to look at it that way too, you're helping build something that will help all of the XRP family. And that's our stated mission, really at the end of the day, is to help everybody, create generational wealth with their XRP. Or digital assets. I should probably say digital assets, because there's going to be other ones also. And we are working with people that have ICOs at this point that are worth a lot of money that got in early on this stuff, which is wild to see some of these, which is really cool, by the way. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and set up the LLC, you are going to be in position to be able to onboard immediately post price appreciation. And we do look forward to working with you and appreciate all the support and being there in the group with us. Price prediction for December 31st. I have a public bet for 750,000. Sorry. No, geez, that's way too much. $750 XRP is my public bet for XRP by December 31st. And again, we'll see on that one. I made that bet because I wanted to make sure that the people that, that person had made other bets with were made whole on their XRP. We did a double or nothing to make sure that all those people got paid back, whether I win or lose. All those people get their XRP back. But again, I'm 99.9999% on $100. We've got Jan Newbern. They say, hey, Jake, thanks for all that you're doing for the community. I'm in the Mastermind, but I would like to upgrade to Carbon One to get the first month for $2. And if so, how? Thanks again. Can't wait to onboard DWP. So you would cancel. I shouldn't do it this way. I shouldn't tell you how to do this. But again, like, I'm here to help people. I want to make sure that people have access to stuff and the resources that they need. Making money is tangential to that, to me. So if you're in social and you wanted to upgrade and you wanted to, get $2 in Carbon One, you would cancel for social and then go back and reapply for Carbon One and spend the $2 and do it that way. If you do that more than once, we will kick you out. I can't have everybody like continually just canceling and then paying $2 over and over again. It's only good for a one-time use on the $2. So if you use it on the Carbon or if you use it on the social, I don't know that you're going to be able to do it again for Carbon One. But if you just signed up for social and you did want to move to Carbon One and try it for $2, that would be the way that you do it. The coupon associated with your account is only going to be valid for the one-time use for the $2 for 1 month. All right, we got Mr. Fleetwood 1. He says, "What's up, Jake? Had 2 different guys try to get me to link my wallet to Web3 today. Web3 is a scam." He is absolutely right. People don't fall for this. So this is probably a good time. I have a lot of people out here trying to impersonate me. I am the real me. You can see all my fingers. I'm not AI. I do these every Monday and Wednesday night. There are a lot of fake accounts across every social media platform. We spend $10,000 a month trying to get these removed because we do see so many people getting scammed. And that's money out of the company's pocket that we use to try to mitigate that risk for people. So please don't fall for it. I will not DM you. I wish I had the time to go on and like post. And I mean, I do go post on there, but I wish I had the time to DM people. I don't. If you get a DM from somebody that is pretending to be me, it's a scam. I will never ask you for your XRP either. Again, I don't work at Digital Wealth Partners. I never help people onboard there. I don't give financial advice. I don't do any of that. So if a fake account ever asks you to link your wallet or connect or send your XRP or do any of that crap, block them and report them because they are trying to scam you. So this person says, "I get a new Jake Claver follow daily." I know, man. Over here on TikTok and really every platform, it's ridiculous at this point. And again, just be careful out there. Don't send your XRP anywhere. Digital Wealth Partners will also only communicate with you over email. And that is the only company that is doing anything associated with me with managing XRP is Digital Wealth Partners. All right. We got Living Forgiving. Very cool name. I like that. They say, "Jake, tinfoil hat." What are the chances that the Escrow release for next month is already allocated to the big boys? The gladiator games begin in the exchanges. Let's go. It's quite possible. I do think that things are going to speed up from here, and Ripple could definitely exacerbate that if they didn't put any of their XRP onto the market. Ben says 0 chance XRP goes up. Ben, wish you the best of luck, man. I hope that works out for you. Anyway, so yeah, I think that there's a possibility that Ripple could just not put any XRP onto the market. They don't have to sell any XRP onto the market. We just had David Schwartz come out the other day and said that they're going to pivot their business model to not selling so much XRP and doing more through Hidden Road and some of the other acquisitions that they've made at scale. I don't think you guys understand the prime broker and G Treasury. Like, maybe you do. Maybe you're sophisticated and get that. Like, that is the deal. That's the deal. Nobody else is able to compete with them and use XRP in the same way that they're going to. I just cannot impress upon you how big a deal the acquisition of Hidden Road was. And now they have Ripple Prime. And I do think that they're going to get their banking license. I was told sometime in November. We only have a couple days left in November. Maybe it's December. We'll see. Rocket99 says, in the conversation with Eric Trump, were there things you can't talk about? Wink if yes. Pantera knife, bro. Appreciate you on the knife, my dude. I've taken that with me pretty much everywhere since you gave it to me there in San Francisco. I really appreciated that. We got castle law in Texas, and now I got a knife on me all the time. So I'm also about 240, 6 foot, if you can't tell on a camera. All right, let's see here if I've got any more super chats. Sorry about the freezing, and the Wi-Fi tonight. I appreciate you guys bearing with me through it. Here we got another super chat. We say, if you are familiar with them, can you comment on Wealthsimple in Canada? You can buy XRP and store it offline, I believe. Thoughts on that and on Wealthsimple? I don't know enough to talk about them. I have heard a few of our other Mastermind members talk about it, so maybe that's the best perspective that you could get. I would just join the Mastermind and ask other people there. I'm not Canadian. I'm here domestic in the U.S. and I hold my assets at Anchorage. So I can't speak to it. I don't have any personal experience on it, and it's not something that I'm familiar with. And I'll just tell you guys that if there's ever something that I'm like, I don't know, I'll just tell you, I don't know. I'm not going to try to BS you. We got Ram Jr. 935. He says, Jake Demand, what's going on, dude? What do you think Japanese stimulus does for the unwind of the reverse carry trade? I think it exacerbates it. More M2 money supply there in Japan, more money floating around is more inflation, which means their value of their currency goes down against the US dollar, which moves the reverse carry trade a lot. They're going to have to raise interest rates. Like, that's the only way they're going to be able to mitigate that inflation in their economy. And that's why I'm still very confident that you're going to see oil be the catalyst here. And I'm going to continue to beat that drum until it happens and you guys watch it play out. And this is going to be like the one time that, like, I get on my soapbox and I am like, this is what's going to happen. Okay. It's going to be very wild to watch this all play out. I don't have a crystal ball. Post price appreciation with everything else that's going to change in the world, I have an idea of how things are going to move, but to give you guys a specific map on like how this stuff's going to go, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do that again. I'll try and I'll pontificate about things, but this one, like, I'm giving it to you guys. We got turn this back on again. If there's only 1 to 2 billion available, not much XRP left. And with the launching of additional ETFs and the volume that that's going to bring, I don't know how to explain to you guys, like, we don't have much time left. Things are about to get very spicy on the XRP price. King Preston, my man, he says, love the content. You've been amazing. Are they behind on LLC? Been a few weeks. Also trying to onboard, have not heard back. I would check your spam. I would almost guarantee that you have an email if it's been that long. And just make sure that you use the same email address to sign up as the one that you're checking. Not to say that you would overlook that. We've just seen that be a common thing for whatever reason. People thought I used this email and it was actually a different one. But I would highly recommend checking your spam folder. If you don't have anything, you can reach out to support and they will forward you the emails because they're automated. They come to me. I see them go out. Just because I have people message me like you're telling me here and be like, hey, I didn't get this. And I'm like, forward it to you. So I'm pretty confident that you got it. If it's been a couple weeks, it's only 3 to 5 business days. But again, check the spam. If you don't see it, just shoot us an email at support@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and our team there will be able to forward you the documents. This person says, hola, Grandmaster Jake. Thanks for all that you do. Thank you for the kind words. Wouldn't locking XRP under ETFs be an impediment to the very purpose of XRP? Less XRP available equals less settlement. Can you please explain? It's actually a very good point that you make. And you're exactly right. There would be less XRP available for settlement. Well, if you have the same amount of demand and less supply to be able to facilitate that, what does that do to the price of an asset? Goes up a lot. So yeah, locking up XRP in ETFs and DATs and liquidity pools and escrows and other stuff limits the available supply that they can use for settlement, which is actually bullish for the price. And that's been my whole argument here. I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, there's 100 billion XRP. There's never going to be, these high prices. Let them sit down and watch, because a lot of this XRP is going to be locked up and it's not going to be available for the public or these institutions or anybody else that wants to settle back into markets or all the other applications that they're going to use XRP for. And it's going to have to be a very high price, because there is going to be a large portion of that 100 billion that's locked up and not available. We've already got that with the escrow that Ripple has in place. I'm going to take these 3 super chats and then I'm going to proudly wrap it up here a little bit early. We got to go to dinner. So I'm going to take these 3 and then we'll cut it off. Tim, my man, he says, hello, started my LLC Friday. Awesome, dude. Glad to be working with you. I have Fidelity. Is any of the spot ETFs better than another? There is a Tucrum, 2 times long. Would it be better to do the 2 times since we are sure price appreciation in the near term? You want to trade leveraged ETFs. You don't want to leave those positions open. Ideally, you're doing that in a tax-deferred or tax-free account and not in your normal brokerage account. Okay. If you are going to trade that, it is timing. Right now, people that bought it are down on it. It's trading below the NAV because we've seen the XRP price go down. So you actually lose more too. I do think that things are going to move rapidly to the upside here. So maybe that is a good trade at this point. Again, not financial advice, buyer beware, do your own research, make your own decisions. But yeah, could be a decent deal if you want to participate that way. The ETFs themselves, the spot ETFs, you want to look at the fees that people are charging. You want to also look at the additional benefits that they're providing. I like Canary Capital. We know Steve well. So if I was going to pick one, I would pick Canary at this point. Just my 2 cents though. Cheddar says, good evening, Jake. Appreciate you on the super chat. Any feedback on Old Glory Bank thus far? They've been great to the most of the people that we've referred over. Biz and personal account. I love the fact that they embrace veterans with discounts on products and services. Thanks, be blessed. See, so another great review. So if you are going to set up your LLC and you do need a business bank account, sounds like Old Glory Bank is awesome to do business with. Thank you, Tom. He says, I hope you're right. I'm ready. Thank you for putting it all on the line. All the best. Appreciate that, man. A lot of people don't like it for whatever reason. Look, I am very risk averse. I wouldn't come out here and say the things that I'm doing, and it could damage my reputation, right? Like, we have a very large business that's providing benefit and value to people. And again, I've predicated all this stuff, right? Like, all these events and catalysts do have to happen for these price points that I've talked about to transpire in a short period of time. I hope that that's been communicated to you guys over here on TikTok and on all the other platforms that are watching. We need the ETFs, which are rolling out. They got to buy up all of the volume off of the OTC and dark pools. The volume's got to move to the exchanges. The reverse carry trade unwinds. The settlement of the back end of the stock market. The liquidity buffer for the FX market over there in Japan, when that trade unwinds and all of that yen comes rushing back, SBI will adopt XRP for that. There's a lot of things that have to happen, and they have to drive a bunch of liquidity into XRP to be able to push it to the price level so it can be used for those applications. That's what the ETFs are for. So, again, been talking about this a long time. I spent a lot of time on it. Hopefully it makes sense to you, the domino theory. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and check it out. It's on my channel. I think I have 3 separate videos where I've run down all the things that are involved in the domino theory. But it is looking extremely likely, like 97% likelihood. I would really say 99.99 because that's where I'm at on a $100 XRP this year. And again, just my personal opinion. I'm just some guy on the internet. Go do your own research. Take it with a grain of salt. If you don't like it, that's okay. Just my opinion, and I can come on here and talk about my opinion. And you should talk with a wealth advisor before making any investment decisions. This is not financial advice. So I am going to wrap it there. And I probably should say this too. These are my own opinions. They're not the opinions of Digital Ascension Group or Digital Wealth Partners. So if you want to work with them, they're probably going to tell you a little bit, to be safer than what I am or what I'm personally doing. I am siloed in XRP. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday night to come hang out with me. This is recorded. It'll be up if you want to go watch it over on YouTube. I think it crashed a couple times on YouTube, but it should be up over there as soon as we drop off. If you do want to join the mastermind, again, we are going to shut it down. So post-price appreciation, which will happen in the very near future, we're locking it down. So if you want to get in, you want to be part of that community, we've got 12,000 people there that pay month to month. They can, leave at any time. It just, again, talks to how strong that community is and what we're providing there and the value that you're going to get. You can use the code BEYONDBROKE, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, like Mary Oscar, each of the first month for $2. They're the mastermind. In addition to that, you can always work with us to get your LLC set up, or you can work with an attorney. If you want to work with us, you can go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF, 50OFFDAG LLC. That's 50OFFDAG LLC. Get you everything for $2,000 on the LLC. And last but not least, if you do need a financial advisor for your crypto and you want to work with us at Anchorage and Digital Wealth Partners, go to digitalwealthpartners.net and use the contact us form. And you're going to need your assets in an LLC or trust, and you're going to need at least 50,000 XRP. Again, the code one more time for people that want to join the mastermind over here on TikTok is BEYONDBROKE, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, get you the first month for $2. With that, we'll wrap it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, a wonderful night, and we'll see you on the next one.